General Manager John Lynch went on KNBR this morning with Murph and Mack, who did a great interview, and he gave a ton of praise for Trey Lance. Let me say real quick the things he said about him. Basically, that he said he's pushing to be the starter, that he's everything the Niners thought he'd be and more, that he's been good from day one, that the ultimate test that he passed was that he's not just a hard worker when he's around the team. There was those 40 days between OTAs and camp, and they said that he improved his understanding of the playbook, his ability to process defenses, NFL defenses, and his mechanics. That they gave him a list of mechanical fixes he needed to make, and he made them. And that they're extremely impressed because not all, even pros, are able to improve that much when they're away from the facility. Is there anything else he said? That the early returns have been really good, and he said, yes, it is a competition. Finally, Murph asked John, he said, okay, well, is Jimmy going to start week 1? And John Lynch said, that's really a question for Kyle. He's the head coach. He makes that decision. What's your take on this?
I mean, I think that, number one, it does speak to Trey and who he is at his core. The idea that he goes away for 40 days and does nothing but work on his craft. I mean, That's exciting, right? When you have a guy who has the physical skill set, has the mental makeup, and now has that drive, and you can clearly see it, that's spectacular. Mm-hmm. The question that I have is, I think fans are asking, why is the team being so conservative with Lance, right? Yeah. You get a lot of people that are saying, hey, we need to move on from Jimmy. We have so much money tied up in the cap with him. We could free that up. We could trade him, get an asset back, or even cut him outright, which I think is a little bit extreme. But certainly I see what they're talking about. I see why they want to free up that cap space. You look at next year's cap, and it's atrocious. If we free up that money, it's big. And in order to do that, you've got to be able to put Trey in. But my theory on this is fans really think about this almost as if they're playing Madden on franchise mode. They don't really take into consideration the very serious consequences that can happen if you're wrong in the NFL. I mean, who would you say is closest to being on the hot seat this year within the front office?
Oh, John Lynch.
Yeah, me too. So if you're John Lynch, who is in control of the roster and therefore in control of Jimmy G's fate, whether it is a trade or cut at some point, potentially next offseason, when you look at him, he is risking not only his job, potentially his career if he doesn't get another front office job, but the jobs and careers of friends, close friends within the organization that work for him that would also lose their job if something went wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think that people say, well, something could go wrong even if you have Jimmy on the roster, but you have to look at it as, where would he have egg on his face? If he traded Jimmy had a good year and Trey didn't, that would be it, right? That would be the end of John Lynch's tenure with the 49ers.
Absolutely. I think the 49ers are handling this the right way. Like, why haven't they named Trey Lance the starter yet? Because the first game is in like 30 days. They shouldn't. It would be irresponsible to. What he says is the early returns are really good. Like the polls, he's ahead in the polls.
That's right.
But there's a lot of voting left to be done. If he stinks it up in the 3 preseason games, it won't be a discussion. If Jimmy Garoppolo plays great, it'll be a big debate. So there's no reason to get ahead of themselves. But it does sound to me, you could tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think the Niners' rhetoric keeps changing. It went from Jimmy's a starting quarterback this year. Trey's developing. He's 21 years old. To okay, Jimmy's a starter, but he's really going to have to share time with Trey Lance. He's not a full-time player. He's a starter, but he could, Trey could have 20 snaps. Who knows? Something like that. And then now it's like, we're not going to say who our starting quarterback is week 1. I think that's a very interesting progression. And I think the way it looks like to me is if he continues to do everything they expect and more, as they've said, I think he's going to start week 1. Because if he doesn't, then you'd basically be saying like, well, there was nothing he could do this offseason. You traded up to number 3, but you never really gave him a fair shot to take the job. He exceeded expectations. He played so well, but you're going with Jimmy Garoppolo because he's a starter, and it seems like the prudent thing to do. From what he's saying, it's a competition. Trey's doing really well. Didn't really expect him to do this well. It sounds like he's kind of on track. He has many more hurdles to clear, but it sounds like he's on track to start week 1 if he clears those.
That's
right. He will.
Keeping in the conservative mindset, you got to continue to check the boxes, right?
Yes.
And doing it against live bullets is the next one, right? Preseason is going to be very exciting to watch him out there on the field and what he can do when we're actually seeing tackling.
Also, the joint practices against the Chargers might be even more important.
Yes.
The joint, there's 2. And he's going to go against a defense he hasn't seen before, which is going to be like a real game. How do you do against them? Not just your own defense that you've seen all off season.
Right.
That's going to be the big test.
Are both of those practices going to be completely open to media?
I'll be there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be down in Costa Mesa. Yeah, absolutely.
That was my old stomping grounds. Before I moved up to Portland, I was down in Costa Mesa, California.
Nice. Well, that's very exciting. I will be down there, and maybe you can give me some recommendations.
Oh, absolutely. You got to go to there's a sandwich shop. I'll find it for you. It is the best. Lil Pickle. That's what it is. Lil Pickle.
Okay.
It is right near where you're going to be, Orange Coast College. Phenomenal sandwiches. Get the turkey. You won't regret it.
Thank you. All right, let's answer a couple of questions. We'll get back to our topics. Jose, hey man, long time no talk. Good to see you. For fantasy football purposes, who do you believe the Niners running back with the most touches will be? I wouldn't play that game. That's
stay away.
Yeah, you got better odds going just playing roulette and picking a color. Really?
The only way I'm doing it is if my league is scared of Niners backs as well. If the entire backfield falls a bit, I would take a flyer on Mostert or Sermon.
I'll put it this way. I think both Mostert and Sermon are going to get a lot of touches. So you could do worse than either one of those guys. I'm not sure that Gallman or anyone other than those 2 tailbacks are going to get a lot of run with the first team. I think those are the guys. So
Mostert is that dreaded, like you play him 1 week and he gets nothing, then you bench him and then he goes off for 3 touchdowns. And you just got to hope that you got it right when you started him, because from game to game, it changes quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like if Trey Lance is a starter week 1, there's going to be 30 to 35 carries split up between him, Mostert, and Sermon. And, Lance could take 8 and the other 2 could take 12 each with a couple of catches too. So, fair. That's pretty good. That's not bad, but you're not going to really get volume.
No, the key would be if we start dumping it off to our pass catchers out of the backfield. Just to wrap up the previous topic, the only thing that I think I'm still in disagreement with you about is whether Trey will actually start week 1. I think that's the last checkbox that Lynch and Shanahan are going to want to see. I think they're going to want to start Jimmy and have Trey come in for a few series and see him in a real regular season game. I think that'll be the last checkbox. So I anticipate, if he continues to check the boxes as he has to this point, I anticipate early season probably making that switch. Because I think you gotta get a market for Jimmy too. You gotta be able to trade him.
I disagree real quick. And I've just been thinking this through, talking to people. I think if the Niners plan is, look, let's start Jimmy week 1. And if, bring in Trey, and if Trey looks good, we'll start him by week 2 or week 3 or after the bye. Well, okay, you made a quick switch to Trey, and now you're putting the 5th highest paid player on the bench. It's fine to keep Jimmy as a backup, but that's very expensive, and I think that hamstrings you to a degree. So I think if Trey exceeds all expectations and plays really well through preseason, I think they actually will take the leap of faith. I think the reason they're starting to change their rhetoric is because they might name him a starter, and what they can do is go to Jimmy and say, "Look, Jimmy, it's nothing personal. When we drafted this guy number 3, that if he did everything well, there was really nothing you could do. We're kind of all in. Sorry, he's really good. You saw it. You saw him in the games and practices. We're going to go with Trey. No offense. And we like to keep you as a backup, but we can't spend $27 million on you as a backup. So we would like to offer you a pay cut that's fair, that'll pay you more than you get somewhere else if we were to cut you. Because right now, the day before, not that many teams have cap space, and you probably get a 1-year deal somewhere for $7, $8, $9 million. We'll beat that. We'll give you 1 year, 10 or 11 million with bonuses in games that you start if you get an opportunity. And we'll let you go after this year. It's instead of having you for 2 more years, which we currently have, we'll cut it to a 1-year deal and give you some freedom. I think that could work. I think that's why they might want Trey to start week 1, just to save them $15 million so they can make that all-in move at the deadline.
I'll tell you what, if the 49ers can execute that as you just described, that would be a pretty phenomenal coup. I mean, that would allow for a very deep and talented quarterback room
Right.
and a
That's
reasonable price
affordable.
tag.
That's
Yes, it
affordable.
is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a problem with Jimmy. If he's your backup making 10 million while the starter's making 7, hey, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's all good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
My only counter to that is I think our best chance of winning a Super Bowl this year with Trey is to provide less tape for other teams to see. I think the later he starts in the year, the better chance we have in the playoffs. I think you see it
That's
every
interesting.
time with the young rookie quarterback that tends to use their legs quite a bit, that defenses struggle with that until they have a lot of time to prepare dedicated to that one team like they do in the playoffs.
That's a very interesting counterpoint. I'm with you on that. Marcus says, by John putting these comments out, is he being passive aggressive and pushing Kyle to question starting Jimmy? I have no idea. You're assuming they're not on the same page here with the quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kyle's an odd duck. I don't know where he stands on this issue. He seems to be pretty enthusiastic about Lance as opposed to Kittle. I don't know if you've heard. Kittle seems
I wonder if
withholding.
that's
It might just
more
be
of
Ricky
just
Hazing.
feistiness with the reporter room. He seems to be out to prove it this year. Like a little less talk, a little more action.
I think it's also like a degree of Ricky hazing, and I think he's a very
Right.
good friend with Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's all kind of a little awkward.
Yeah,
Kurt
that
says,
certainly plays into it.
I think so. Kurt says more valuable for week 1, Jimmy's situational football experience or Trey's deep ball and running ability just to win week 1. I think the most important thing about winning is not turning the ball over. That's the one thing people don't talk about. Like for all
That's
the
fair.
nuance that Jimmy gets and his ability on third down, third down's important. Turnovers are more important. And he threw 6 picks in 12 practices, which is what Jimmy does. And he
Right.
does it in games. So I would have to say that one of the main reasons I like Trey Lance better from day one is I think he'll be more protective of the football, not to mention the way he'll help the running game. So the deep ball, I mean, he'll take more shots, but that's not really, the biggest difference, I think.
Yeah.
The
The
most
hope is
important
this team is good enough week 1 that it doesn't matter who starts. That this
Good
team
point.
is good enough with
That's a
special
good point.
teams and defense to dominate Detroit.
Yeah, they should be.
They should.
Which is another variable in the equation. If they think they can win no matter what week 1, well, we'll see what they do. Do you want to save $15 million or do you want to? I don't know. I think they want to save $15 million, but we'll see. Dylan says, "Dad gum, you can see the sole on that shoe." I liked it.
Boom.
We have a
How's the
couple-
audio in the chat? Hit me up. Let me
I
know.
think it
I'll
sounds
rewatch
fantastic.
it. Yeah.
Has Shanahan's rhetoric changed? He'll make call.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know where Shanahan stands on this. It's really been more his rhetoric was it's Jimmy's team we're playing both quarterbacks. Now Lynch has taken it the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Shanahan's been clear about a couple of things. One, that he is very excited by Trey Lance. I think that's clear. And two, he's frustrated by Jimmy G, both injury and performance. So those kind of carry through. If you look at both of those, he'll be looking to make the shift as soon as it's the right time.
Yeah. Keneal says, "What's up, you guys? What's up, Keneal? Is the pump and dump over? Also, do you think Lance will get any first-team reps in the Chargers joint practices?" These are very good questions. I'm going to address these in the next topic, but real quick, I wonder, no, the pump and dump was not a success in training camp. Everyone knows that Jimmy Garoppolo threw 7 touchdowns and 6 picks. That's not enough to change perception about him. Now, he could go out and kill in training camp, and that could do it. But so far, the pump and dump hasn't gotten off the ground, which is why I think their Niners are more thinking like, well, maybe we keep him and just give him a pay cut and just be happy with a really good backup. That might be the way to go.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to debate, which is what's more valuable, the pick that you could get back for Jimmy, which doesn't look like a whole lot at this point, versus the money. And unless you're getting a low second round or a high first round pick, I've got to say that the $15 million or moving on completely seems to be the more value.
I feel like value. Sorry, I almost feel like they're in a position where they have to keep Jimmy because they haven't given Sudfeld or Rosen meaningful snap. They would one day one would get 4, the other would get 2. The next day the other would get 4 while the other would get 2. So there'd be 6 throws a day to split up on the third team. So I can't do the math, but I would imagine neither one got more than 30, 40 throws in camp. How can you have that guy be your number 2 quarterback when your number 1 guy's running the zone read 8 times a game? He
You
could sprain
can't.
his ankle.
Yeah, you can't with
Yeah.
any confidence. That's rough. By the way, I've just got to know. I didn't see it on any of your shows, but did you do a little celebration when you saw the Rosen to Craycraft touchdown in camp?
Absolutely. I tried to maintain professionalism, but my voice would go up many octaves.
Yeah.
And I try to look around like, who did that? Come on, guys. This is
I
a
wish
working
I wish
environment.
they filmed practice just so I could see that reaction.
Gammon says, Grant and Rob, there's a charity event involving many Bay Area sports reporters today. Have you guys ever discussed doing something similar? Oh, no, I never thought of it. I know what you're talking about. Biederman doing one with that beer. So shout out Chris for doing something for a better cause. Good job. Maybe one day I'll be that big hearted. I don't know. He's smarter than me. T Money says, growing up in gold, man, I thought you were told, here's a blanket for your offer. What? After Jimmy Ward knocks you out cold and he's picking more balls than a kid does? It's nose. Grant, you show. It's never a bore. My dude, we all want more. That was, I think, a rap that I butchered.
Yeah, I think it was.
Growing up dipped in gold, man. I thought you were told. He's a blanket. No, hold on. I'm going to try it. Growing up dipped in gold, man. I thought you were told. Here's a blanket for you after Jimmy Ward knocks you out cold and he's picking more balls than a kid does his nose. Grant, your show is never a bore. My dude, we all want more. Okay, I did the best I could. That was a good rap. I liked it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was
It
good.
may need a couple more practice runs, but I like the effort.
That was cool.